you, I can see your copy. I left mine at home. I was doing mission work
Yeah.
and forgot.
I don't believe it. She was traveling and she made come
Oh,
like.
she's not gonna make it. Her
She's not
flight
gonna make it.
wasn't gonna leave Atlanta till 6. I didn't hear from Mr. Steele. And Miss Person was gonna be on speaker.
Yeah, because she had
Okie dokie.
Yes.
There's an uptick.
Going forth.
Yes, ma'am?
It is.
Okay. We'll work it. We'll work it. Good evening.
Bonjour, comment allez-vous?
Moi, je veux très bien, merci, et vous? Okay, I got you. Good evening, everyone. We're going to begin. It is 5:30, Thursday, June 2nd. It says public comments. Are there any public comments? There being none, I call this meeting to order. Roll call, Ms. Colquitt.
Dr. Reddis.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Here.
Ms. Person West.
Present.
Ms. Temple.
Here.
Mrs. Wancom.
Here.
Mrs. McLean and Mr. Still.
Okay. Executive closed session per North Florida School District Policy 1.14A stating that private or closed discussions by the board may occur as part of a regular or special board meeting. Executive sessions may be held only for the purpose of considering employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of an employee, or to discuss matters of pupil punishment if requested by the parent or legal guardian. No resolution, agreement, or motion considered in the executive session shall be legally binding unless the board reconvenes in public session and presents the item for vote of the membership. Further, Arkansas Code Title 25, Chapter 19, Section 106 2C1 states the specific purpose of the executive session shall be announced in public before going into executive session. Please join me in the executive closed session for discussing the following: employment, appointment, promotion, or resignation of an employee.
Come on, make it beautiful. You got one back there for us.
Okay, I was curious if it's changed.
Today. It's a Maco Madness too. I still got it in the car. I'm gonna take a picture of it.
Ms. West, can you, there we go. We are back in session. The next item up is an action item, which is employment of personnel. Being that I have a relative on the list, I will be recusing myself, and Ms. Williams, being vice president, I'll need for you to take over for this motion. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just wait till she steps out.
Till she step up.
Madam Vice President, members of our Board of Education, the superintendent recommends the employment of personnel as discussed in executive closed session.
Madam President,
Yes.
I so move that we accept the employment of personnel recommended by Dr. Paluski.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions? If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. 4.2, 2022-2023 Student Handbook and Policy Updates.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the Board of Education. I'll yield to our colleague, Mr. Stone, who's going to provide any updates, Mr. Stone, as it relates to our student handbook and feedback.
There's no update. I'm here for a vote. I do want to say that the cell phone policy, we've gotten some results back, and there's still, it's all over the place. But the point of the cell phone policy, just as a reminder to the board, is asking our families and our students not to have cell phones inside the classroom because we're about academics. And so I know there's some changes that we want to make, and this is a small step towards that change. So that's the only update that I have right now, according to the comments that I've gotten. At the last board workshop, we talked about the board policies. The policy, there was no vote that was necessary, so I did not bring that back to you. I was just wanting to add in the grading policy and the cell phone policy and the code or the standard of conduct. So at this time, I'm asking for a favorable vote on the handbook and the changes within the handbook so that we can get that done this month.
Question?
Excuse me. Ms. Wancom, you have any questions?
Nope, I was gonna make a motion.
I have some questions.
Go for it.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I just, when I went back through this, I thought you had expanded on what Mr. Steele had said at our meeting about specifics for.
I have not gotten to, I looked at Little Rock, I looked at the counties, I've been looking around to see if I can get some verbiage and just to expound upon the BB gun and
Well,
list out those.
I saw it in my, I forgot my packet at home, but I saw it in my packet that it was in there, so I thought you had added it.
No, it's not added in there yet. I'll still look at maybe adding just some clarification of what firearm is. It just with your vote, we can vote on it, and with those changes added in, that would be no problem if you guys are okay with that.
Okay. Miss,
You want mine?
It was
This is my
4.22.
packet.
4.22 is what you were referring
Yeah,
to.
we'll take it, Ms. Wancom.
okay.
You wanna look at this?
Yeah.
Pass that to
If you get any feedback you want to
Why
provide,
should-
we'll give it to Mr. Stone. Oh, whoops.
While she's finding that,
Okay.
I'm give her time to find that. Just a couple of things that I noticed under the cell phone policy in the statement. Just beware that there's after the "and" there's a big gap, and it goes over into the next line.
Yes.
Just
Those things, those little changes like that will be done. Other eyes will be on the book before it's actually put on
Gotcha.
site. Yes, we
Gotcha.
we try to get all the grammatical errors out before it's uploaded to our site.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Just a curious concern, under the procedures for the elementary, you know that is one of the items for school supplies is headphones. And so do you think it's necessary, it's just a question, to whether or not we need to include some type of verbiage to let them know that if it's instruction and they're being directed, that's the only time that they can have the headphones, if I'm making sense.
You
Because
are,
it just says on here that they can't be visible, is real strict about what they can't do, but that is one of the things, one of the items that we have to get for a school supply list.
right, and so I saw that, and I didn't liken that to the same area. We're talking about cell phones and earbuds as it relates to cell phones.
Gotcha.
When we're talking about instruction, we're talking about our Chromebooks, and the students are working on Lexia or something there, and they need their earbuds so that they won't be a distraction to their surrounding neighbors. That was
Gotcha.
a little bit different.
I needed that explanation. I got that makes sense to me. And the last, I just wanted to, I guess, more or less a comment. The only concern that I have is consistency. Because I know at the high school, you may have one teacher that don't mind, don't care, and they will let the students have their cell phones anyhow. And then when they leave from that class, they go to the next class. Well, hey, Miss Smith told me that I can have it, but Miss Jones is saying I can't. That ain't fair. How come I can't have it in this class? It needs to be some accountability and consistency. If we're not going to let them have it in one class, then they don't need to have it in any of them.
Yes, ma'am, and that's the same point Ms. Wonkum brought out last time, and I agree with you both. The consistency of the teacher, that's the life of this policy. Everyone has to be on the same page.
Question?
Yes.
I asked you prior, from last board meeting, I was concerned about two things, and you did explain it to me. I was concerned about the process of graduation because there were so many problems. And I think Dr. Pulaski said his administration, they will be looking at that.
Yes, ma'am.
And do over the summertime, somewhere it needs to be put in an addendum to that. And then our main concern, Dr. Pulaski, about the Chromebooks, something specifically should be said because kids that are in poverty, they're not supposed to be charged when they break a Chromebook. That's Title IX, I believe. So that somewhere needs to be in the handbook. Whatever you all come up with, because the way Mr. Stone, I'd heard him explain it at one time, he said the senior high kids, students, it is in there where they have to pay. But all of North Rock School District is 7-4 poverty. So how do you differentiate from who pay and who should not pay? So we would need to clearly look at that. And I know that we're not like a rolling bank and have money to turn over, but we need to follow policy in that we make the policies, okay? And if we've been doing this policy that we never knew that those children were paying, this was something as a board member I did not know, that the poverty children who broke they were paying $160 to replace a broken or lost. You know what I'm saying?
Chromebook, yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So that's what I'd like to see, something in writing, or once, Dr. Beluska, you've met with your administrators, but that definitely needs to be cleared. And maybe it's more looking at the Arkansas School Board of policy and how, because you remind you, some schools were charging those students and some schools were not. And that was, to me, that's a big problem.
Mr.
And
Stone,
everybody should be on the same page.
Yes, ma'am.
isn't it in our policy that there's a $25 damage fee? I thought there was a $25 damage fee or a $25 or $50 damage fee because being a foster mama, I've had to pay it. That's why I bring it up. Because one of my babies damaged a Chromebook and I had to replace it. $25 or $50 I had to pay, so I had to walk my check over to the
Right.
school.
My neighbors
And
charged
we
about
will look at all of that with Dr. Paluski,
Okay.
approval,
Yeah.
before we bring it back to the board, for some consistency for one, and then making sure that we're following any laws, federal, state laws, and make sure we're doing what we should do as a district.
Okay.
Did you find?
I did. Rule 409, do you have it? It's on page 31 of 45.
I would need it pulled up.
Here. It says it in here, so I thought you added it. Maybe I didn't see it last time, but.
Yeah, that's part of the rules. He was talking about the policy itself. Yes, that's there. Oh, let me get
Okay.
the mic.
Okay.
Okay, I know it. Yes, I did put that in there, but he was talking about within the policy 4.22 itself. He wanted it, fleshed out there. I can add that, but there are several others. I would have to put et cetera, because there's so many different gun types out there now that you would just have to put
Can you
in et
just
cetera,
put in-
put some examples and
Can
then
you
et
just
cetera.
put in the policy rule 409 as a?
Yes, we could do that as well. And I
Save it
can
from
list
later.
those things that's in Rule 4 now, just for consistency's sake.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions? I'm
Yes,
ready
I do
for-
have
Oh,
one question. It's okay. We had one man on the board for a few months, and we lost him. I just have on the cell phone
Yes, sir.
policy. I got nothing but positive calls about that. But one question that from some parent, and most of the calls were from teachers. They love it, but it was a parent that was concerned about theft. Where if they can't bring their cell phones into class, what do they do with them? If they're bringing them to school, but they can't bring them into class, then what would they do with them? Some cell phones now $1,300, $1,400.
Okay. And the policy is not saying they can't bring them into
Correct.
class. They can't be out in the class. They have to put them away.
Do they have
So
to
in their
power
pockets,
them off?
I would say power them off, because we don't want to hear them in the classroom. So they will need to power them off, turn them on silent, or whatever they need to do, but put them away, and they
So-
can't pull them out.
So they can keep them in their bag with them at all times.
Possession.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
In their
they can have it
possession.
on them. But
A lot of parents
but
have
not-
trackers too,
but
so
not out.
they're like, I want them cell phones because that's the way they know where their kids are.
Correct.
Yeah.
No lockers, they have to keep them. I just said no more
No-
lockers.
no
in high
lockers.
school.
No more lockers, yeah.
No lockers.
They have, and most parents be concerned, how's my child gonna call me to pick me up? There's been so many excuses. But that is clear what you said just then,
In
because I
their
heard
pockets.
Mr. Steele just talking, it's clear. You can have your phone, but you cannot have it out. Is that clear in your book?
If it's not clear, it will be after tonight.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank you.
just a side note, I like the part about the fighting and the video recording and pulling it out. I'm with that, and so we can't be teeth dropping,
Airdrop-
fight,
airdropping,
airdropping. That's
yes.
the word, airdrop. See, I don't have iPhone. I have Android, so airdropping. Yes, love it. I'm ready for a motion.
Madam President,
Yes.
I so move that we accept, well, I gave her my piece of paper, the proposal of the student handbook and policy updates.
Second,
It has been moved and properly
got
second
a
that
motion.
we approve the 2022-2023 student handbook and policy updates presented by Mr. Stone. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? I'm sorry, Ms. West. I'll be a little bit slower, give you a chance to speak. It has been adopted.
Thank you.
We're down to North Florida High School parking lot.
And I welcome Mr. Hatch, Supervisor of Maintenance.
Good evening, Madam President, board members. What you have in your package is a change order for the parking lot. That change order, the original proposal was for $29,000 and some change. However, our process kind of went past the 30 days that price was good for. So we have a change order for the price increase in the commodities that are associated with that job in the amount of $3,000.
317 and
$3,317.95 for your consideration and approval, please.
Ms. West, do you have any questions? I'm sorry, I forgot you last time.
That's okay. Yeah, I just want, this is for the, something that happened over there by the scuba shop. Is that what that was?
No, for the high school parking lot,
Yeah,
Fencing.
it was a
the
or
fence.
something issue.
No, there was no issue. It's, a fence that was there was just decrepit and decayed. And
Oh,
so
gotcha,
this is to
okay.
put a fence between the Black Cobra Tattoo and Piercing Studio and the property, the North Little Rock High School parking lot on the northeast side.
Okay, no, that's all I wondered. No further questions for me.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wonkum.
So this is the February 8th, we did the bid on this fence for repair. In April, we did the board approval, and then here in June, we have a price inflation. This is the same thing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there a process that we have from once we approve it, the day or the night of?
I think what we need to do is probably think about a dollar amount, if you will. I used to get bids, proposals, quotes that were good for upwards of 180 days. But in today's volatile commodity market, I'm lucky to get 30. Sometimes I see 10 days on these. For instance, if I was to buy $4,000 or $5,000 worth of parts for my grasshopper lawnmowers, sometimes I get a 10-day quote on that. You know, y'all don't see that because it comes out of, except for on the consent agenda. So usually that's a quick turnaround for me because I don't need instant, I don't need board approval to instantly meet that quote. However, 180 days is not happening anymore. The maximum I see now is 30 days.
This happened on May 10th, and it's good for 30 days. Here it's June 2nd.
Yes,
you've
so
got-
once I inform them that it's been board approved, it meets that 30-day requirement. So even if they don't start this job for another 2 weeks or so, it's locked in then.
Any more questions, Ms. Wonkum?
Oh, I was just saying when it's tipped and it's not over $10,000, it's all good,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Ms. Temple?
You answered my question.
I need a motion.
Madam President, I so move that we accept the additional pay increase for the maintenance of the parking lot.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we approve the North Florida High School parking lot fence. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
It has been adopted. We're
you, Ms.
down
Judge.
to, thank you, Mr. Hatch. We're down to 4.4, legal transfers. Mr. Stone.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Paluski, tonight we have two families seeking a legal transfer request out of the district. One to Benton School District. Both parents work in Benton, and they would like to have their child in there so they can pick them up from school and drop them off at school. And the same is true for the Little Rock School District. One is requesting to go to Little Rock School District for the same reason. The parents work there, and they would like to have their child to go there so they can drop off and pick up at convenience. So those are the only two we have tonight, and they both missed the school choice application deadline, so they're applying through legal transfer.
Ms. West, you have any questions?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Ms. Wonkum?
Nope, I'm all set, thanks.
Williams?
No.
Temple? Still? Ready for a motion?
Madam President,
Yes.
I so move that we accept the legal transfer presented by Mr. Stone from the two families who request transfer to Benton, and Little Rock.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the legal transfers for the two students, one to Little Rock and one to Benton. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
It has been adopted. Thank you, Mr. Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Stone.
I
Madam
move-
President?
Yes.
Before we adjourn, can we have an open discussion about the dividers? I was trying to talk to Mr. Hatch a while ago, bless his heart, he can't read my lips, because of the divider. So, the dividers, these right here that are up, so the children are still not, drinking from the water fountains at the school. So come next year, Dr. Paluski is gonna talk to everyone regarding that matter. So with us not having our mask, there's an uptick in COVID. So do we want a conversation regarding these dividers, taking them down or leaving them up regarding, there you go. With that face says it all.
I want them to keep them because we have an uptick in the virus at this
You wanna
time.
keep them?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so that would be my call.
It's a small, tight space,
It is.
Very tight.
but
I feel safe.
I feel safe. I feel more secure not wearing my mask.
Very good.
Any more discussion? I move that, I need a motion to adjourn to go into workshop.
Madam Chair, I so move that we adjourn to go into the workshop.
Is there-
Second.
It has been moved and seconded, we adjourn. We are now into workshop. You got a blue-
Madam President, members of our Board of Education, our first workshop item is the 2022 Maintenance and Custodial Department Summer Work Plans. And I will invite Mr. Hatch back and his colleague, Ms. Martin, to share our summer maintenance and cleaning schedule.
There you go. Get it lined out. Hey, good evening again. Purpose of this is to inform the board of what the maintenance and custodial departments have planned for the summer as far as outside vendor projects, inspections, and cleaning and disinfecting. Outside vendor projects. The big one is gonna be roof replacement at Indian Hills. This is gonna be performed by Mid-Arc Roofing, and they are getting tooled up, getting materials set aside, and they will begin this job in approximately 1 to 2 weeks. And Mid-Arc said that they will get it done in 60 days. Next project is a fence and gate repair that we've just talked about. Again, Doane Construction is the company doing this, and it is the boundary between the Black Cobra Tattoo and Piercing Studio and the northeast side of the student parking lot. That fence, it will match the existing black chain link fence that's around most of the property, as well as there will be a small retaining wall on the left side of those bushes going down that sidewalk. And the final project I have is actually kind of up in the air. We do have ESSER approval for the heat and air at the arena. However, unbeknownst to us, because of the cost, we weren't able to go with the tips taps vendor on this. A federally funded program, which this turned into with ESSER funds, has a $250,000 cap. So we actually have to go through the process of a request for proposal and quotes to get this to the board and get it approved with ESSER funds.
What is the price of this?
It's, the price that I currently have is $1,091,000, $1,091,000.
I thought,
was it?
at one time, wasn't it 100,000? It's gone from 100,000 to a
No,
million?
ma'am, the last price was $870,000, and that was several years ago.
And now it's $1 million?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, when we had the, you know, when they built that little part of that little bitty gym, and they put that airing in and was blowing over into the arena, did it cost that much then, Mr. Hatch? You know, we got that little practice gym.
The
over there.
practice gym, yes, ma'am.
You know, and I know it'd be blowing a little bit of air over there, but at your, well, I guess you weren't here when they did that.
No, ma'am.
But the cost has gone up, that's what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you see, there's $250,000 the federal government will pay, plus using ESSER? What is
No,
it?
ma'am. It's, the ESSER funds are limited to less than $250,000
Oh.
on a tips taps bid. If it's a tips taps bid, it has to be less than $250,000.
Okay.
If it's more than $250,000, we have to pursue a avenue of RFP.
So we would have to come up with 800.
No, ma'am, no, ma'am.
No.
It will be fully funded. However, it's just the process of getting an approved contractor has to go
Gotcha.
through the request for proposal
Gotcha.
avenue.
So just to be clear, Mr. Hatch, this is not coming out of our capital improvement project. This
No,
is
it-
coming
no,
out
it
of
is not.
federal
This will
ESSER
be
t-
100% ESSER 3 funded.
Gotcha. It's just that the bidding
The bidding
process
the bidding process
is different than
yes,
what
ma'am.
we anticipated.
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. Ms. West, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions about that. No.
My only, it's not really to him, I guess it would be, when can we do something about the PA system? Because if there's an emergency, we don't have a clue what they're saying.
So, great question. Would you like to answer that,
I'm
Mr. Hatch?
working on that too.
So we've asked for a quote, and I've been in that with you as well. I remember standing right there with you, and you could barely hear. It's mumbled
And if
when
they
Mr.
told us to
Noble-
evacuate,
So.
we're gonna be
so
just
we-
standing there
we-
looking.
We have, and I've asked,
High school graduation all over again.
Yeah, we're
so I've asked
pursuing
Mr.
that
Hatch
as
to get a quote on a new sound system for
well.
the
I'm actually
arena.
looking at a sound system as well as possibly a floor covering so that we can hold events there other than just basketball and volleyball games.
So let's do it.
Any other
It's-
questions?
It's on Ms. Walker, it's on you. Oh, I'm good. I would just, what is the total price to get the sound and all of that together?
I don't have a quote, ma'am, but I'm working
Oh,
on that.
when you come back? you have-
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then I was just looking at that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch.
Next, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going on. This is something that the maintenance department does every year. I have two master plumbers, and they are both certified to do the backflow preventer testing. This just prevents contamination of fresh water in the city freshwater system is what these RPZs do. And we have two of these at each facility. And so this is something that'll be ongoing during the month of June. Hopefully we'll get it done in 1 month. And we are gonna work around all the summer schools, scheduling and stuff so that they will not be without fresh water. Gas pipe testing, same thing here. We are charged with annually testing all the gas piping in the facilities, and my technicians take care of that too. The one thing that we can't take care of are the fire sprinkler system testing. This has to be done by a certified, a state-certified entity. And VSC Fire and Security, they will be doing this testing. And I just got the call today where we're on their schedule, so. And I believe that's all I have. Yes, ma'am.
We're still on you?
yes. Go-
Question, Ms. Walker?
I'm all set.
I just want to commend you.
Well,
We've
thank
never
you.
had this done before,
Well, thank you, ma'am.
and I thank you for, and you, Dr. Paluski, for your leadership for doing this.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Temple?
Okay, on to the cleaning. So you can see, the custodial department will thoroughly clean all rooms not being used during the summer learning loss programs. The lead custodian will have floor plans that indicates the rooms that will be utilized. Each day, the staff will also clean rooms and areas that are used for learning loss programs. Yesterday, I had a lead custodial meeting, and they were all provided with floor plans, the elementary, of the classrooms that are gonna be used. So, they're very well aware of what's going take place starting next week. Most elementary schools are using more than half of their school building, including the gym and the cafeteria for the summer learning loss program. In the secondary schools, the first floor at the 6th grade building, the top floor at the 7th and 8th grade building and cafeteria, the high school wing and cafeteria at the academy, Tower C and D, cafeteria and library at the high school. This area will be utilized for the summer learning loss. And the custodial department will refinish all corridor floors at the 6th grade campus and 7th and 8th grade campus. And at the academy, all the classroom floors and hallways will be refinished. Ridge Road Academy and the 7th and 8th grade gym floors will be screened and recoated. We do this during the 2-week dead period. And at the conclusion of the summer learning loss program, the custodial department will have approximately 16 days to complete the cleaning before the next school year of 22-23. And all areas will be cleaned and disinfected efficiently as possible. And have a conclusion unless you all have questions before we,
Ms. Wancom?
she's smiling.
I have questions.
Okay.
Are we still using that, the air purifier, the thing that we?
The
what was that?
Clorox 360.
That's it.
Yes,
Are we still
yes.
using that?
Yes, and they'll definitely use it during the summer learning loss and after we clean a room.
Okay. And so a follow-up, we had a nice little, friend in here the other night, and he works for you, but he wasn't using any Lysol wipes or anything whenever he was cleaning in and out of places. There was video, and so I just want to bring that to your attention. Can you
Okay.
please
Oh, we have plenty. I still have plenty
reiterate
in
that we
stock.
need to wipe things down, handles especially?
Yeah.
There is an uptick. We just spoke about this. There's an uptick. We talked about these things coming down, but we're going to keep them because of the uptick. So we just need to make sure that we're still using Lysol wipes, off-brand, Equate, whatever it may be, but we're still cleaning
Okay.
COVID restrictions.
Will do.
Moving on from that, Hatch, this comes back to you and Dr. P. More than 8 months ago, we spoke about Ridge Road is what triggered me. Ridge Road, we spoke about changing out the ceiling tiles and the bleachers. All this cleaning over there at Ridge Road is what triggered this question. Did we ever finish that project? That was a project that maintenance took over. Can you look and see about that?
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Thank you. It just triggered me
Yeah,
from
it's
seeing
not
Ridge
ringing
Road
a
on
bell
here.
with me, but we'll,
Yeah.
and Mr. Hatch, that might be a good thing in our weekly board report, just to follow up with that
I
question.
don't remember reading a conclusion on it being finished, so
Okay.
that's why I'm inquiring. So, okay, cool. Thanks.
Ms. Williams?
Oh, Ms. Martin, thank you for the report.
You're
And I
welcome.
see when the summer school is over on the 17th, that's when you all will go over and do all of the buildings, when everybody's
Yeah,
out.
that's when we go back and we thoroughly clean the rooms that were used for summer school.
Because you're cleaning those that are not being used. You must have a good diagram of what rooms were going to be used.
I am so OCD color coded. So yes, they have a color coded floor plan, and when they get through with the room, they put a red X. So when I'm like, where's your floor plan? I can look right at it and tell where they're at and cleaning in the building, so yes.
Okay, thank you for your report. Very nice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know how hard it is cleaning schools, there's so much stuff, and some of those rooms are just full of things, so I'm kinda curious when you say you thoroughly clean, you clean all the desks and everything, or does
Yes.
the teacher clean some of the stuff,
You
that
know.
they have some of their own things? or-
Miss Smith sent out, I think Dr. Paluski actually sent out expectations. And on the expectations list for the cleaning, it had that all the cubbies would be cleaned out. The countertops cleaned, sinks, everything put up and away. So all we have to do is wipe out, clean, and we do clean the desktops, the legs, the chairs, front and back. We clean them, stack them, and then we put trash can liners over them. So when a teacher walks in, their furniture's clean, their chairs are stacked up with liners, and they know it's been cleaned and
Right.
disinfected.
I know that's a big job, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Ms. Martin, first of all, just let me thank you for your leadership. You got a good crew.
Thank you.
I go
think
into
so.
the schools, our schools are clean. We can be really proud of them. I guess just to the superintendent, how is it going to work with the custodial staff once we start after-school programs in all the elementary schools, because I just feel confident that's on the agenda for next school year. So how is that going to work out? Because I know your staff does a lot of their major cleaning right after the bell rings.
So are you referring to enrichment programs after?
Whatever after-school program we're going to implement in the fall, or as soon as absolutely possible.
Sure. So I know we've got, obviously, at the high school and at the middle school, at the elementary, where we were going to consider full enrichment as related to E4 model. We're just not there yet currently to be able to implement that with all the current changes, but I think that's something that we want to be able to provide, but we also want to be able to sustain it. So I think we just need a little bit more time to plan that out properly. But is your question, as we go to implement after-school programs, because our space is
in
going
one
to be
area,
utilized?
like a cafeteria,
Yep.
and the staff will be able to clean
Sure.
the rest. The other relates just custodial at this point. But I'm confident that we're working on getting after-school programs in all the schools.
Yes, sir.
One other question, Mr. Hatch. I remember it's been a while back that we talked about this major lighting program at the middle school.
Yes, sir.
Am I missing that? When I go by, it's still a little dark.
That's been put on hold due to us wanting to get a new middle school.
Did we
because it
approve
was-
money for that?
No, sir, we never did.
So we just got a quote and it was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
conversation.
yes, sir. Just conversation.
It is really, you go to events up there in the
Oh,
evening,
I
it is
agree.
really
I
dark.
agree. I can revisit those. However, we are really pursuing an aggressive new program to try to get a new middle school off the ground, which we're not yet to the point of presenting it to the board. But, we're talking couple $100,000 to sufficiently light the exterior of the middle school, a la the high school, if
Yeah,
you will.
I was going back to Ms. Williams' question. So that, whatever the cost was then is probably, what, double now?
It could be, yes.
Just like on the other project, so.
And also, if I can just add to that, the proposal that we're coming with, we're also looking at, Mr. Steele, solar technology, how to be able to implement that in order to do a cost savings, as well as part of this, Mr. Hatch, correct me if I'm wrong, is look to do LED light throughout all of the entire school district, which can be an enormous cost savings, where we could maybe use that cost savings for some other things within the district. So it's part of a bigger proposal that we're working on, which is also included in the middle school.
Yes.
If it could possibly be a way that we could provide a little more safety lighting and that would not impact the new school that we definitely need at the middle school. If that could be a possibility that we can look at, and I
See if we
think
can
solar
I'll
really
see if we
could
can
work.
look at some limited lighting maybe in the particularly dark areas, if you will. Because I know coming from the parking lot through the courtyard into
it's dark.
into the gym, it's.
No,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. West, did you have any questions?
Yes, I did. About to Ms. Martin, please, as far as the, I guess more of the training procedures or what have you, because I just want to make sure, kind of piggybacking off what Ms. Woncombe stated, that each custodial staff member knows that cleaning is more than pulling trash. You have to wipe down surfaces and commonly used areas, and rooms are vacuumed, and mops are used, and that this is kind of a common known thing too, as far as your staff, and to make sure that especially in the highly populated areas, that those are highly sanitized.
Yes, ma'am.
oh, Madam Chair.
if she heard me, but I don't know if you heard me. I don't think this microphone's on, but yes. We had the lead meeting, like I said, yesterday, and they have full instructions to go back and tell their staff. They have their staff sign off on everything that they were told, and that gets sent back to me. And then I'm out at all the schools all summer, all day. So it's all gonna be checked on.
Did you hear that,
Thank
Ms.
you
Woods?
so much.
Thank you.
That's all I had.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, do they use a checklist, Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Like they, what is it, a piece of paper or something
Yeah,
they
it
turn
is.
into you?
It's a piece
'Cause
of
if a
paper.
teacher complains, you know, a staff member complains, and so, well, they didn't do this, and then you can go back and look at that sheet and they say, yes, they did.
Yeah, we have a daily checklist.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
That's pretty cool. So then
Pretty
if they don't
detailed
do
on
it,
their, it's detailed on their area, what they need to be doing nightly. And then at the end of the week, it gets turned in to myself. If there's a problem, me and the principal sit down and go over it.
okay, I was just wondering about that, when people complain, is there any validation? You know, if there's no documentation, it didn't happen.
I tell them it's like an accountability sheet,
Uh-huh,
so yes,
very good. Thank you.
Awesome.
you're welcome.
Accountability.
You're probably already still doing it, but it hasn't been, they haven't come before the, do you still have the competition
We don't.
between the schools like it?
That was
used to?
awesome.
It was,
That was awesome.
it was awesome.
We put it on hold when the new schools were being built, the 5 new elementaries, and we just haven't started it.
I think it's a
But-
great idea to bring it back.
That's
And
why I
they
brought
love
it up.
it. They love
And
it.
they loved it.
We did it
and-
on spring
I mean,
break.
it should be clean
was fun.
anyway, but it was just that
Pride.
extra pride to know
Yeah, They
that,
all got the T-shirts when they
Yes.
come in first place. You
Yeah.
all remember all the big presentation, yeah. But if you want me to try to get that started, I'll, for
Yes.
the funding and stuff like that.
I think it's a great idea.
And we did the bus tour, it was on spring break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fun.
I missed that.
All right, I'm glad you brought that up.
No more questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great report.
Madam Superintendent, members of our board, our next workshop item is the Amboy property at 5600 Macarthur Drive. And then the board had asked us to go back and negotiate and get some additional information, in which Mr. Hatch, again, this is just an information item at this point, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Hatch for the latest information as relates to.
Okay, I think Mr. Brown took care of all this, and I'm kind of stuck with the ball, but I'll do my best. It looks like they renegotiated the price and came down $3,000, which is their rock bottom price that they're asking. And just one question that I know they answered was Ms. Walkham's question about any improvements to the property, and they said, no, there has not been. So that's really, in a nutshell, the report I have moving forward with this.
I did just, if I may,
Oh, go
Madam
ahead.
Super, I did find out one thing with Mr. Brown and the real estate agent, and it was, I think it was Ms. Woncom, your original question, which was the original purchase price at $45,000. It's also my understanding they did a bulk purchase in multiple properties to get that price, is the information that I received that I wanted to make sure the board received as well.
Ms. West, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Ms. Wonkum?
If you want me to repeat my soapbox, that's too
No.
much money on this property.
All in favor, no.
No.
It ain't worth it.
Ms. Williams?
Okay, Mr. Hatch, this is really directed to Dr. Paluski. I would like to see, we're doing so much. We need to privatize some things and fill out what's the most important thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
We got all the air we gotta do. We got to tear down the buildings and do stuff for this property that we have gotten. And I'd like to see some, Dr. Paluski, just to come to us and tell us what at this time is the most important thing that we need to do? I know we have ESSA money, I know we have the building fund money, but then when we start doing all of these projects, how much we got left? And we got so much going on that we want to do.
Sure.
I know we got 3 buildings we gotta put roofs on, and then we got Glenview out there that need, HV, something done to it. And all I want for you, Dr. Paluski, is to sit down and, which is administration, and present it back to the board.
Sure.
What is the most important thing? You know, we spending money because we know we got money. It's like a little child going in a candy store. We want everything, and we can't have everything. And we're talking about trying to build a new school in 23. So that's my statement, and I commend you on your work efforts, because you've done a tremendous job. But Dr. Paluski, please, I would ask you and your administration to present something to the board. We have a lot of requests, and then when you present it to the board, we need to know how much money is left in the treasurer. That's what's important. So
Sure.
you can expound on that, I don't care.
Sure, no, I'd be happy to. You're absolutely right. I mean, we have lots of projects, and we'll come back and classify those, I would say, into major projects and minor projects, because you're absolutely right. We came back a year ago talking about our number one priority was the middle school.
Right.
We have Old Main that we still have to talk about, that I know many of the community is wanting to know, what are we gonna do about that? We've got the police and courts building that we're getting ready to inherit. So there are lots of pieces and parts to this, and we'll be happy to come back and prioritize that list. I think the question here, and I would not recommend doing the entire parking lot project, but I would recommend, that's, I think, where the board has to make a decision is, do you want to buy the property now to have that ability sometime down the road, that if you want to tackle that project, at least we own the property, versus not. But I would recommend purchasing it. That's just my own opinion, but that's for the board. And at some point down the road, when is the right time to redo that entire parking lot? But I don't think it's the right time to do the parking lot now.
Okay, thank you, very
Yep.
good statement. I agree to that. That was a question, and it wasn't directed to you. You've done a fabulous job, and thank you for that
Yes, ma'am.
statement.
We'll bring it back.
Because some people are thinking that we fit to do the parking lot now, and if the project, I believe we could do to me, I feel you would not recommend us to do this if there was not funds for it. So
Correct.
I trust you. Okay, thank you.
I have no questions.
No question.
And I think, Dr. Paluski, you had recommended or said initially that if this was purchased, to hang on to it, and then the construction component can be done at a later time when it's feasible, and because it's not something that has to be done like right now.
That's correct. That would be up to the board in your priorities when you would want to tackle that sometime down the road. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that does lead me to one question. What kind of liability does that add to us for the building that's on that property? And would we need to tear it down right away, and how much more would that cost? I mean, because we will be adding, mowing and a building there that, I don't know. I just, that's something we hadn't talked about, and it had entered my mind a couple times.
I think we could easily get a cost on what it would be to just tear that building down if we can get you that information.
The structures there are small enough, I dare say that during the slower winter months, the maintenance department could probably tear them down. I'm not gonna make that promise, however, we've torn down bigger buildings than those.
If we keep it in-house and you guys, maintenance, take it down, that would be less expensive than hiring someone, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
That's,
All right.
just wanna make sure my thoughts are within line.
So that eliminate cost also.
Well, I'm just worried about a vacant building sitting there and somebody getting in it and the liability to, so.
It would, if it did come to fruition and we purchased the property, sometime this summer, it would be probably a November, December timeframe project after the mowing stops and stuff like that. So.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, because you triggered me when you said mowing. Hey, when are we gonna start looking at the water sprinkler systems? We've got plants for the middle school that we need to plant, but I need the water sprinklers to work so they don't die once we put them in the ground. Add that to the list.
Bring a bucket, girl.
I got the flowers.
It's the hose.
I bought all the flowers for them, and I'm willing to go donate my time to plant them, but I need water.
Okay.
Any more questions?
None.
Ms. West, are you clear?
I feel like I've been assigned a
ma'am.
bunch of
Okay.
homework. I appreciate that.
You're grounded.
Thank you.
Can they use soakers?
So
What
you
that-
be,
Thank you.
Can you use soakers instead of the sprinkler system?
We are down to the superintendent's goals. That is the last item on here.
a lot of this stuff he's already done. A lot of this he's already done.
Madam President, members of our Board of Education, for the record, my name is Greg Paluski, the proud superintendent of the North Little Rock School District. I'm honored to present to you this evening a high-level overview of my projected goals for the 2000. I really put this in 2022 because of the evaluation process really is from not the academic year, it's in from January and through December. Which you probably noticed that based upon our discussion, some of these are going to be carryover goals that we just have not completed. But I'll certainly just hit the highlights of those. There are 6 standards in which superintendents in Arkansas are evaluated on. So it seemed to me that it's just appropriate to have 6 goals to make it easier on you on the evaluation process. The first goal, and this is a continuation, is it actually is going to be the work that we're going to do on Saturday at our board workshop. And this is around a new vision, a new mission, core values, a graduate profile of the North Little Rock School District, and then you're going to see this Saturday the skeleton of a new strategic plan that has 5 goals, and it has indicators with not all the data is going to be in there, but most of the data that we have some trends so we can start getting your feedback on that. That is primarily the large part of goal number 1. Goal number 2 is around the teaching and learning process. Improving the teaching and learning process. As you know, we're in the middle of the curriculum management audit. I should be getting that report in the next few weeks, and that will be presented to you in the public next month, is our goal, and I'm hoping and anticipating that that's going to give us a lot of rich information, action items in which we can mold that and tie that right into our strategic plan. Our district-wide leaders, as Dr. Hooper had presented a few months back, our focus on literacy and mathematics, specifically with our pacing guides, our scope and sequence for our teachers so they know exactly what they need to be teaching, the professional development for our teachers as well as our leaders. This goal also focuses on data analysis of our school leaders, specifically disaggregating. You know, we've been very data focused. We want to continue to push that, specifically in looking at areas of inequities. The other area that focuses on, which is superintendent monitoring visits. So Dr. Hooper, myself, and our 2 new executive directors, at least once, you know, I'm out in schools at least every Thursday, but we're going to do more of a formal monitoring visit in order to understand the needs of the school in order to move forward. And then continuing our intense professional development for our leaders. And that is really focused on this year, which is going to be on Domain 3 in the Danielson, which is what teachers are evaluated on. That's the instructional delivery standard. So we want to be able to look at how teachers are actually delivering that, and we're giving them focused feedback. Standard 3 This is more into the organizational effectiveness, the safety, the security of our organization. As you know, we've had the fiscal management and human resources management audit. Now is to use those recommendations and start implementing them, as well as put that into our strategic plan as well. You'll see there's many action steps in here as it relates to school safety and security. Chief Finks has been conducting a system-wide analysis of our entire safety of our district, as well as enhancing what I would call a 21st century school district safety and security plan. You also know that we are getting ready to, we've come to you with some new technology such as Raptor and OpenGate. There'll be more technology. I'm also, Chief Finks and I will be coming to you in the not too distant future with a complete reorganization of our safety and our security department, which is much needed. And then the last thing, Chief Tessing and I will be making a joint statement in creating, and I know many of you have talked about this, Mr. Steele, you and I have talked about this as well. We're going to make a joint statement to create the North Little Rock School Safety Task Force. That's going to be made up of local agencies, so whether that's the police department, the fire department, the FBI, the state police, but also we want to get our community members as well involved in that, so that becomes the driving force as we monitor our district safety plan as we go forward. And the last part down there is the action step, is the continuation of the reorganization of central office into phases. Goal 4 is continuing our communication, whether that's communication from the superintendent out to the community, out to our stakeholders, with our Board of Education members, and some tools that we're going to put in, enhancements for this school year, such as an example. I'm very excited about it, that hopefully, depending on how many board members will be available, but I would love to start a board member superintendent luncheon at every single one of our schools. That way it allows the board, myself, to listen to our student advocates. Let's go observe some classrooms. Let's have lunch with students. Let's eat a school lunch. I think that's a great way of not only visibility, but us understanding the needs of our schools. Standard 5 is really the equity standard of looking at, number one is we've got to do more work with our school administrators in understanding the Every Student Succeeds law, and that's what our letter grades are based on as it relates to our accountability measures. We also need to do a lot of more work on disaggregating our student data to look for where the gaps exist and how we're going to close those gaps. Also, you have in here specifically with a focus on disaggregating discipline data. This is an area that we still need to continue to work on. I'm confident with our new executive directors of school performance, our schools are going to get a lot more support than they have in the past. Expanding access to AP, higher education is always going to continue to be a work in progress. And then 6, to highlight that, there's a lot of work that still has to be done as it relates to policy development. Access to our policies. This is another committee that we're actually going to create. I'm going to ask some board members to be a part of that with us as well as the school safety task force. I didn't put it on here. We probably need a budgeting committee as well, but not to have too many committees. But this one really focuses on, there's a lot of work. If you go on our website and you look at our policies, they're in one stagnant document, and they're just hard to find. So we know we want to make that more accessible to our leaders, to our public, as well as some consistency. If you look at our policies, some say NLR, 125, and some have a different number. Our numbering system, our format needs to get better, and it needs to get clear. And I would also venture to say it's not only using the model policies, but which is the role of the board, but behind it, which is the role of the superintendent, is to have the regulation. How are we actually going to implement? And what I've found since I've been here is that is sometimes very vague. You have the policy, but it's very vague on how are we asking our employees to implement the policy. So that's part of Goal 6. So as always, I look forward to your feedback, suggestions, something that I'm not focused on, you want me to focus on more, action step you want me to take out, something you'd like me to put in. I welcome your feedback.
Ms. West. Ms. West?
I'm sorry, I had to take it off mute because my dogs are acting nutty. I read through this information, and I really like the fact that you're putting more emphasis on the connection as far as with the community, and that is a continual focal point. And I like what you said about getting out and involved more in the schools and maybe sitting down, having conversations with some of the students and kind of just getting in there and just seeing for your own eyes what's going on at the school. So I really like that. And I don't necessarily have any questions, but just commend you for continuing to do a great job.
Thank you, Ms. Person West.
Ms. Wonkum?
It looks good. I agree with all of this. I would ask, can we add one thing? Is there a way that we can, in my mind, a whiteboard that states how much money we have spent at this board meeting tonight, what we spent it on, or how much it was spent, and then what funds it came from? So next month when we come back, we can look at that number and we just have a running tally of a budget. You know, used to we'd write checks and we have our register. Well, we don't do that anymore. We swap a card these days. Or we pay cash. So can we just, it's just nice to have that number in front of us for accountability for our taxpayers' pocketbook.
Sure, and you know, in the long-term goal to that, if you remember, one of the recommendations from the Gibson audit report was a budget dashboard.
Right.
You remember he brought the example up, how much are we spending on, and we can pull it right up and in real time.
Yep.
So absolutely, we'll work towards that,
Mm-hmm.
but we can be doing something that's more high level is what you're
Absolutely.
asking for.
Yep.
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Dr. Paluski,
Yes, ma'am.
you have until December 22nd. Superman. Okay, but the thing that I'm most impressed with, most of the times when teachers, you know, get fresh out of college, they don't know how to, they may know the subject, but they don't know how to present the subject to students. And we've been so focused on the students, but we got to intertwine those two together. And I think with the report that Dr. Hooper gave month before last, it was saying that now we will have people in the building helping these teachers,
Yes.
you know, and to me that, because the teachers can't teach unless they don't know how to teach. And it's no reflection, because college does not teach you how to teach, they teach you the subject matter. And they definitely need help. And with the students, you know, in the classroom, they gotta be taught how to discipline too. So your report, I think it fulfills everything focused, teachers focus. If they get focused, they can focus on the students and less worry, no stress.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the beautiful part, and I'm so grateful, Dr. Hooper, that you presented this plan, that they will have training, give them what they need.
That's right.
If the teachers get what they need, there will be success in every classroom. You see, when teaching is going on, there's not a discipline problem. And we've had problems, our high discipline rate is up, but once those people are in there to help them,
Yes.
when a teacher is teaching, there's no discipline. But when they are not reaching a student, that's the discipline.
right.
So I thank both of you, Dr. Hooper, and you, Dr. Paluski, for that.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. We're very excited about our new service delivery model, and like we all know, we know there's two things that make great schools: great leaders and great teachers, and that's what we're focused on.
And we have great people, but they can learn
We do.
if they're taught.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think it's very good, but I reserve the right to come back to you. I'm still digesting it all.
I know I'll see you on Saturdays. You can give me some feedback then or whenever.
Yes, on Saturday, same here. We get a chance to digest
Yeah.
things probably a little more.
We will. We're going to go deep down into those 5 areas. We're going to look at the academic data. We're going to look at safety and security data. We're going to look at, and you'll be able to give me feedback from there. And maybe the timing of that is good, because then out of that, if you want me to focus on something that will come out of our strategic planning, I'll be happy to refocus that.
One point I'd like to maybe actually two. If we could really focus more on failing students, I didn't really see a heavy focus on that. We lose a lot of our students just because they cannot make the grades. But we used to have programs, Ms. Williams, dealing with children who were failing and having failing grades, and specifically give them additional tutoring, additional training, so forth. So if you can give that some consideration. Also, the committee, as we discussed, is good, but also I would encourage us to be involved in the state committee. The governor's going to call a special session. We met some on that today, but there's already a state school safety task force available, and I think we should. You may not have time, but they did some great work. Actually, some of their recommendations actually turned into legislation. So they do a very good job. But anybody can participate, and they really want schools to actually be there. And I don't know if it's you or Chief Finks. I think at least you should attend one of those.
Sure.
But I think they'll be meeting quite frequently before the special session. I anticipate there'll be federal resources that will be approved for school safety and state resources. So any plan that we have that we need, we should put it in place and then kind of see where the resources are going to come in. It's unfortunate what had to happen, but I think that because it happened, I think that the people will start to respond and now do the right thing. I just hope we can, in the future, respond before these terrible things happen.
Proactive.
And just lastly, I didn't hear a whole lot on cultural diversity, and as we talked about that before, I think in the training, but also the student-to-teacher relationship and interaction, and dealing with some of those students are from different types of backgrounds and so forth, that we can focus on that a little more.
Sure.
But
Thank you for that,
everything
Mr.
was
Steele.
good.
And I think to your academic piece about failing, I think Saturday when we take the deep dive into Goal 1, there I think are 15 academic indicators that I have in there, and the data that shows where we currently are. And I think that'll be a good conversation as we get into where our students are falling short. We'll get into graduation rate. We'll get into AP. We'll get into the academic achievement. We'll get into our earliest learners. We'll even get into athletics. I have a indicator in there about the number of students eligible right now that are seniors that are eligible for Division I and Division II athletics. So I do have an indicator in there as well. So I think that'll be a deep dive. I also agree with, and I appreciate the feedback on the diversity. I think that's going to be a big section that comes out of the curriculum management audit, which is going to be standard 3. I think there's a lot of data that's going to come out of that that'll give us some natural next steps.
Good, very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Pulaski, back in 2016, you weren't here, and I was concerned about the graduation rate.
Mhm.
We used to have girls, sometimes girls make mistakes and get pregnant, and we used to have these young ladies, if they got pregnant, made a mistake, they would go to Pikeview or to the academy, and what we would do, we would provide a bus to take them to Pikeview to drop the babies off. But they would have to go to school. They couldn't miss school. You don't drop your babies off and don't go. Because this, in terms, helps them maybe not keep them from graduating, because if they didn't have a babysitter, they couldn't come to school.
Correct.
But at this time, there was this program, and they cut it off sometime, I believe about that time, 16 or 17. And to me, I thought it was a successful program, you know, because a child makes a mistake, he
Sure.
doesn't have to,
Sure.
you know, live with it. But we in North Rock, we provided service for them. We'd have a bus to pick them up, take them in half day. Those who were in the JAG program, they would take them and they would babysit their own babies during the day. That was a part, but no pay, because their pay was in that the district was providing the early childhood service for them,
Mhm.
and it worked. But how it got cut off, and I don't know if it was how it was funded, I don't know how it was funded, that's my statement. But that is something that I would like, if we're trying to meet the needs of all the 8,192 students, that ought to be considered. Thank you.
So there's no babies at Pikeview now?
Well,
It-
what the program she's referring to were, it was a program that we had for the high school children, high school students that needed assistance taking care of their babies that they had in order for them to finish out their education within our district.
Well, I
So-
thought that's what the babies at Pikeview were for.
Well, the babies at Pikeview right now are the pre-K babies that are 3, 4, and 5 because of the program that we have.
So there's no infants?
No.
Okay, all right, I didn't realize that, it's not that.
Yes, that
We'll-
was
we'll
trying
look
to
into
reach.
So
Okay.
just to help, and I don't know if we still need that program. I don't know what the numbers are. That's something y'all would have to
Well-
figure out.
You know, cause I don't know, but I say if there is a need to
Sure.
pursue that.
Yes.
Because we don't know how many young ladies that'll be going to the high school that have children, have a baby or something.
Sure.
But all I'm saying, I
Okay.
thought it was an excellent program,
Mhm.
helped them graduate from high school.
Mhm.
You fell down, but we picked you up to let you graduate.
Mhm.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
And
That's all I got to say.
to piggyback off
And
of
you
that,
on the board. Thank you.
to piggyback off of that, the JAG program was a work program.
Right.
So the men and women who are students who participated, we kept the babies in an educational environment while they were able to not only finish school,
Sure.
but work a program in order for them to have a life skill later on after graduation to ensure a job. So it was a great program.
Ms. West, did you have anything else?
No, I don't. Just a simple overall statement. I mean, we have to just do all we can while we can, for all students that, we have in our district, for the 8,193 students in the North Brevard School District.
Amen.
All right,
Amen.
all right.
Well, in conclusion, I'm ready for the change. Change is always difficult, but necessary. And so I'm just looking forward to what's to come.
Thank you, Dr. Rice.
Thank you.
Dr. Redis, do we need to bring our laptops on Saturday for our board retreat?
Yes, I think that would be wise. There are we did hyperlink some articles in there. Mr. Quinn does have a booklet prepared for you to write in or write notes and that
Where are
thing,
we
but we
meeting?
do. I'm sorry?
Where are we meeting?
We're going to meet right here in the boardroom at 8:30.
I'm trying to see how many connections in here.
Oh, no.
Well, we're not
we should
students, so we're good. We won't have all the
Yeah.
training.
Yeah, we should be good. There being nothing else, see y'all on Saturday.
Oh, we do.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hatch,
You can go home now.
Mr. Hatch,
Nice.
quick question.
I got you down pat, Dr.